According to Amy's link, it was 73.
Oh, right, okay. So, good afternoon, everybody, and thank Furlough. It's Friday the 27th, isn't it, of, 28th, 29th, 28th, isn't it, of August. So, it's good to be with you again. Thank you for joining us. As usual on a Friday, I'm only here really to say hello. The rest of the day is put over to Jacquie. Jacquie is with us again, and she tells me today is absolutely bursting with information. So, Jacquie, immediately straight over to you.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Hope you're all well today. Hopefully we won't get too interrupted. I've got a big storm going overhead at the moment at the office, so hopefully the thunder won't get too loud. Couple of things just to point out to you. Reminders coming through from HMRC. I think some of the staff at HMRC have obviously come back from holiday because my inbox has been literally inundated this week. The coronavirus, all the coronavirus funding ceases on the 31st of October. So that's all the loans, the bounce back grants, the bounce back loans, the C-bills loans, the grants and everything ends on the 31st of October. So we have 2 more months to go. 1st of September, the companies, the employers have to start paying 10% towards the salaries of people on furlough. And as we've seen in the paper this week, the number of redundancies are growing. Unfortunately, Pret yesterday announced quite a few, so that's going to happen, unfortunately, as we've said before. There is one announcement come out. I don't think it's going to affect many members of ours, but if you do get involved in doing a grant for an employer that has more than 100 employees, if you remember, you have to upload this on a spreadsheet. Now, what's happened is up to now, if there's been a problem with the fields or the information on the spreadsheet, HMRC have been contacting you. They're now saying that from the 25th of August, which was 3 days ago, the gov.uk system is now rejecting automatically any of these spreadsheets that have any errors or aren't quite right, or they've got wrong field names or anything else. So what they're saying is please use the downloaded template. So if any of our members are listening and you're in that, just make sure that you're using the correct amount. Eat Out to Help Out has 1 day left on Monday. It's the last day. And it's interesting that HMRC issued some figures yesterday. I think I saw them. So far, 64 million meals have been sold as part of this, and the reclaim for the first 3 weeks of the scheme, that's up to last week, is £336 million have been reclaimed, which is quite a lot of eating out. I must admit, I have partaken a couple of times. Very nice it was too. We had a question came up last week about claiming the VAT back on the invoices with the 50%. Now, I haven't actually seen anything in writing about this. I've done quite a lot of research, looked at all the HMRC stuff, and there's nothing actually to say anything about this. There is an awful lot on what you do if you are a retailer and you have to claim the full VAT. So I actually went back to the old double entry stuff and worked some things out and came to the conclusion that if you have a receipt which has got the amount of the bill plus the VAT and then 50% discount, you can only claim 50% of the VAT because that's what you've paid, and the 50% discount includes 50% of the VAT. So you can't claim back all of the VAT because that's going to be more than 20% of a sixth of what you've paid. So to the person who put that query up last week, no, you can't claim the full VAT back. If you are going to make any corrections to previous claims, either under or over claims, there are some dates that you need to be aware of. The last date for notifying HMRC is basically the 20th of October, or 90 days from when you make your claim. So the 20th of October is the date that you need to be looking at. And we had some queries on the SAYS grant about people applying for the SAYS grant, and I did mention that I was a little bit concerned about the date of the effect. What it's saying for the second SAYS grant is that your income has to have been affected or your expenses affected during the 3-month period from the 14th of July. And my query was that a lot of our members may still not have been affected because we've been very busy, but they may well be affected in the last quarter of this year, so October to December, if you're going to lose any clients and your income's going to go down. Now, HMRC have issued some guidance, and actually we're not going to be able to project this forward. Now, going right back to March, April time when the SAYS grant was first announced, we covered this in considerable detail and we had an awful lot of discussion. I think Mike Johnson raised it and put some very good points forward about it. And we're saying that how do we know we're going to be affected? Well, basically HMRC have stepped back now. They said originally, if you're being affected or you think you're going to be affected, then you can claim. They've now taken a step back from that, and they've specifically said that the first SAYS grant is aimed at that 3-month period from April to June. And if your income has been affected, then the claim is fine. They're not saying by how much. It can be a very small amount, but you have to be able to prove that your income stroke expenses have been affected due to coronavirus. The second SAYS grant, which is now open and people are applying for, a lot of people have applied for, is aimed at the July, August, September, or August, September, October, the 3-month period. And what they're saying is if you're not being affected in that period, then you should not apply for the grant. Now, that might very well mean that by now you know what your first 6 months is going to be. You know what you're going to be like up to about September. And members who may have claimed for this need to have a look at their accounts and see whether in fact they think they are entitled to it. Yes, you have to keep records. You have to keep records. I'm actually going to share my screen with you now, if you bear with me. And I want you to have a look at this one, I think it is, if you bear with me, whether you can see that. Decide if you have been adversely affected, and there are a number of reasons there why you could have been affected, and probably the one for our members will be you have fewer or no customers or clients, or your staff are unable to come into work, and various other bits and pieces. So if you go onto gov.uk and you have a look at the claiming, I put a search in, has your business been adversely affected? You will come up with a couple of documents from HMRC. The criteria for eligibility around trading and income and the maximum you can get remains the same. So this is just whether you've been affected. And there are quite a few examples here. But I have to say, the idea of the SAYS grant is very much towards the small businesses who've actually had to close or who have been badly affected, like, for example, hairdressers and barbers and all the other small businesses that are self-employed, small shops, independent retail establishments, those sort of things that couldn't actually do that. There are some examples here of whether the accounts have actually been adversely affected. And this is the one here that says that if you've decided that you have applied for the grant and you now believe that you may not have been entitled to it, you must repay it. You must notify them. If you receive the first grant, so this is the grant received before 20th of July, you must tell HMRC on or before the 20th of October. And if you have applied for the second grant and you decide perhaps you're not entitled to it, you have 90 days to tell them of receiving the grant. And we did raise last week that they have now announced the penalties for this, though I don't want to terrify anybody, that you will have to pay the grant back if you don't notify them. And I'm now thinking ahead to when we do this year's self-assessment, and you might, because you've been so busy, you might actually have had a better set of accounts this year because you've been busier than ever, that you might then have to repay it. Now, if HMRC challenge your claim and they find that you shouldn't have claimed it, not only will you have to pay it back, but they can fine you minimum of 50%, maximum of 100% of the grant. So we've talked about the morality and the ethics of claiming this, so I would strongly urge all our members just to look and make sure that you're happy that you're doing the right thing. It's exactly the same as you've done for your clients with their CJRS claims. Again, the grant has been worked out by HMRC, so the actual amount itself isn't probably in contention. So do check on that and have a look at this, just to make sure that you are not going to get caught out with that one. Just a couple of other sage things, and we'll take some questions. We also have had a lot of communications about and discussions about this employer's allowance and the CJRS claim for national insurance contributions. Now, I have to thank Carol Webb for raising this week. Carol and I have had a number of conversations, a lot of emails going on. And basically, I'm sure she won't mind me saying, but one of her clients has been in touch with her saying, why haven't you claimed the £4,000 allowance when you've been claiming this? Because I'm entitled, my accountant says I'm entitled and you've done me out of £4,000. Well, she and I have done an awful lot of talking about this week, and I've done some research, and I've actually now had a very fast answer back from one of my contacts at HMRC. And what Carol was saying also is that when you apply the employer's allowance to the payroll and it goes up to HMRC, HMRC tend to allocate it as it wants to. Now, she put all her claims at the beginning of the year. Some were allocated from April, some were allocated from March, and some HMRC decided not to allocate till June. Why, in their infinite wisdom, they do that? It's certainly not consistent. And you can claim, as we know, you can claim that employer's grant at any time during the year. And actually, there was a paper out from the ICAW this week which tried to explain this, but even then, I think it left some queries. If you have claimed your coronavirus and not claimed the employer's allowance, and you claim the employer's allowance, say, in November, what HMRC will do is they will look at the claims that you've already made for NICs, and they will reduce your employer's allowance by up to that amount. So you can only claim for everything over and above, sorry, up to the £4,000. The first £4,000, regardless of when you've claimed it and how you've claimed it, whether you've done it through the employer's allowance or the CJIS, it cannot be double funded. So if you claimed more than £4,000 on your NIC reclaim, even if you set up your employer's allowance later, you won't be able to claim anything. If you have used the employer's allowance from April and you've gone over the £4,000, you can then claim the additional bit over and above that through the CJRS. So again, do go back, but we now have a final relevant feedback that I can actually understand and get my head around, which is very specific. So again, just pop back, just check you've done it correctly, because if you haven't, you will need to go back and amend your figures. And don't forget, if you want to state an overclaim, then you can go on and either repay the money, or your clients can, or you can reduce the next payment you're claiming. And if you have underclaimed, you will have to ring them, because you have to actually ring them and ask them nicely for the extra money. So that's that one. Now, this isn't exactly CGRs, but it is something that I want to raise, and I'm just trying to bring something up on my other screen here. No, it's gone. Sorry about this. I can't find it. It's gone somewhere else. This is something completely different. The lovely Kate rang me earlier this week, and she's had a situation where with HMRC, she is trying to see, I think this is under construction industry scheme, she's trying to actually see what her client has paid back in the CIS, and she can't actually see any payments from her agent account. And I rang a couple of other members, and that's exactly the same. You can't get into the payment screen. However, we've had Kate has had a slightly odd email to say that, from HMRC, to say that there is a new tax agents payments and receipts screen, and they are inviting 1,000 agents per month to sign up for this. And they're doing 32 a day on a first come, first served basis. Now, I would be interested to know if anybody else has had any information. I've gone on with a member. We've had a look at this particular member's agent's account today. We've looked at what they're entitled to do, what they can see, and nowhere on there is there anything where you can see the payments. So if anyone's online and got any information on that, stick some notes up in the question and answers, and we'll take it from there. And I will try and find the actual email in a moment. Terry
is sending us a question. He says he's just a bit confused on your last comment, but this has been in a while, about eat out VAT.
Yeah.
You can see what he's got there. Assume flat rate and sales gross, etc., etc. Do you? If you read it, probably.
Right. Okay. Now, I think, Terry, this is the difference between whether you are the retailer or whether you are the consumer. The question last week was from the consumers. As I went out and we had lunch out under the Eat Out to Help Out, and we only paid 50%, but the full VAT is shown on my receipt. Can I claim that back on my business expenses? Well, as I said to the member, you have to check that it's a bona fide business expense for claiming the VAT back, but you can't then claim the full VAT back. You can only claim the VAT back on the amount that you've actually spent. Your flat rate scheme is very different, because although you would have to show the VAT, I think, on the invoices, your claim under the flat rate scheme is you're looking at the 1% or whatever it is based on the gross sales. So I think that's from the other side, Terry. But if we've got any queries on that, we can chat about that and sort out your queries. That's so I will give you, if you need me to give you a ring, Terry, give me a shout and I'll ring you.
And obviously, I asked earlier on in the last Thank Fellow It's Friday about when furlough disappears, what can we use the F for? I think we have another suggestion now. Thank Faye it's Friday, because Faye is always on here giving us help and guidance and asking questions. So she's got one here. It says she just had a nose about September furlough claims, and it looks the same as this month. You still need hours could have worked against actual hours worked. Yeah.
I think the flexible furlough is going to be exactly the same, but of course you're not only you're going to claim back 60%, 70%, not 80%. So it's exactly the same. But yeah, first one in to do the September furlough claim. Let me know how it goes, please. That's probably going to be Faye. Oh, Terry said, gotcha, understand.
Yeah, that's right, yeah, Terry. That's good. He knows what he's on about now. That's it. Go forth and multiply.
So yeah, Faye's been a brilliant support in my early years group as well. And yeah, thanks, Faye.
Susan Rowland says, good afternoon. Hi, Susan. Great. Nice to see you. Nice to have you with us. And Lindy Cooper says, can you put this in writing so it's easy to understand, please? It will go up on the hub, won't it?
Yeah, I'll get something up. Yeah, not a problem.
Can you put the info about employer's allowance in writing so it's,
yes, I will. I will get something up on, I'll put it up on the hub and we'll get an article out or something. Yeah, sorry, it's probably going to be easier for me to put it down and for you to read it, so I will do that. Okay.
Nothing to do with anything we're talking about at the moment. We've had two queries about our payroll examinations and qualifications for payroll this week, which came in earlier, so I'll raise them now. I had a query from a lady who said that she has got a friend who is in another organisation, which obviously I won't mention. They don't cover payroll with a specific examination, but they do cover payroll entries. And when her friend said, do I need to be qualified in payroll? They said, no, as long as you think you understand what you're doing, we'll trust you and let you get on with it. So a disaster waiting to happen there. The entries for payroll that go in the accounts are obviously just the final figures. Yeah. The big fun is getting to the final figures. Yeah. So I'm afraid your friend, if she's doing payroll because she thinks she knows what she's doing, she'd better be a lot better than a lot of the people who sit our exams and our training, because it does take a while to get to understand the intricacies of payroll. And it's also very important because you don't want to not pay people the right amount of money, whether it's too little or too much. You need to be as close to spot on as a penny or two out, I think, is acceptable. But anything more than that, you can ruin weekends if nothing else. And today being payday, it's probably a good day to raise that. We've had a similar query about self-assessment tax. I've done payroll. Does this mean I can do self-assessment tax? No. Just because you ride a bike doesn't mean you can ride a motorbike. So, you know, you've got to be, it's a different subject altogether.
And I tell you, payroll is getting more and more complex each year. When we started doing that payroll qualification, there were no pensions, that wasn't involved. And now if you work for anything other than the smallest of companies, you've got so many reports that you have to report on, gender reporting and all sorts of things. There's a lot of legal stuff going on there on the reporting side now. And so pensions is just one of them. And if you get your system set up wrong, your pensions and everything are going to be wrong.
Well, when we get sort of next week out of the way, when everybody will be or will not be sending their children back to school, and we are going to probably be starting our more regular programs again, because everybody keeps saying, well, when are you going to come back on and do 5? I mean, we'll certainly do 3, then move up to 5, hopefully. We've got a lot coming up. I've got some people coming on to talk about HR, with everybody being persuaded that there's no real problem in going back to the office and things like that. Incidentally, I did mention, I think 2 programs ago, that ICB was looking at going back to the office in small numbers. And then I think yesterday or the day before, I got an alert from Southwark Council to say they've had a spike in Southwark, which is where our offices are. So consequently, we put that back a little bit. But we're okay. We're all working from home, and with some new whiz-bang system that we've had sorted out for us, so that's great. So we'll let you know on that, but we've got a lot coming. We will be having again a couple of our payroll experts, because I know it's a big topic for people. And the other reason for mentioning payroll is that on Monday I was linked into a Zoom presentation by the National Crime Agency, which was talking about modern slavery and exploitation. There were some absolutely horrendous stories, but it would appear that what is happening in many cases, people who are vulnerable, whether they are illegal immigrants or just people who normally can't find work or whatever, are being forced into getting jobs which normally aren't particularly high paid anyway. But first of all, what happens, you know, for example, they can be taken in by somebody who is very plausible, very friendly, very helpful. Even I understand family members that, you know, they get them involved. Then they help them open a bank account, etc. Then as soon as they've got the bank account, they take all the bank details from them. They take their check card. So they push these people into employment. They then get paid. But of course, they get peanuts, really. They're kept in absolute hovels. All of the money goes into a bank account, which is then being used by one of these crooks. And we are talking of billions of pounds worth going in this way. So if you think payroll is just a case of deciding, you know, what table to take and doing a few calculations, there's a lot more onus being put on everybody that does payroll at the moment. You've got to look at, can the people that you're paying actually work in this country? Are they eligible? You know, there's some tough stuff out there, and I'm waiting for clearance actually, but I'm hoping that we're going to carry this as a webinar, this film about exploitation. I have to say, it's not the best presentation I've seen. You know, it's a couple of people sitting in a dark room in a very monotone voice, but you know, they do their best. But I think it's worth watching. So look out for that, because you know, there are a lot of people doing this, and it highlights the areas where this is prevalent. So for example, farm laborers, fruit pickers, and all this sort of stuff. And we have a lot of people who deal with payroll for exactly that sort of employer. Now, I'm presuming that most of you have got really good employers who look after their employees, but you know, this modern slavery is absolutely rife at the moment. So please look out for that. And if you've got any doubts about that at all, give our money laundering helpline a call. You know, speak to somebody in our group, because it is money laundering at the end of the day, because of course all that money that should be going to an individual is going to a crook, and it's just a great way of hiding the money and then spending it in cash. It's appalling really what humans do to fellow humans. Anyway, on that bright note, Jackie.
Well, I was going to say, I think, Gary, it's not just the farm agricultural side. I was reading a while ago that, and although I'm sure there are loads of extremely good businesses like this around, one of the ones that is causing a problem in some areas are nail bars. This proliferation of nail bars with various people sitting there doing gorgeous nails. That apparently is right for it as well. Although, as I said, I'm sure there are some really good, very professional nail bars around, but certainly in some areas of the country, I know that there are some very dodgy ones. So it's not just, it's wider than the farm labourers, I think. And any gangs, the road workers and things like that, I think are also involved in that. So, okay. Yeah. Did you want to take some questions, Gary?
Yeah,
I believe Faye's asking about the letter of engagement, point 8.3, that's come up.
Did you get any feedback on letter 8.3? No, actually, I sent it to Steve live, actually, on air, and he said he couldn't find an 8.3. Can you perhaps do a photo on your phone of what it is that you're actually reading and send it to us? Because I think one of us is, either Steve, myself, or both of us are being a bit short of the mark on this one because he couldn't find 8.3. I will get him to have a look. If you send it to me now, if you're quick, I'll get it out to him. Susanna Whelan says, I have a request for the Software Sessions webinar series. Please, could you do one for document storage sharing, e.g. SmartVault and MyDocSafe? Great, Susanna. I will put that to Amy and her team. Amy, who has I had to take her kicking and screaming out of the chair to get my chair back today, but that's, you know, she's doing a good job there. Actually, we're getting a lot of response to that, a lot of people looking at it, and not just ICB members, but a lot of people from outside are jumping in on that as well.
Susan, actually on the chat, Gary, Susan's put 8.3 up there. It's to do with keeping information confidential. While you have a quick look at that, Carol's come up. Carol Gibson, good afternoon, Carol. It seems that one person's working from home is rapidly becoming someone else's P45. I make no comment on that one, but I know where you're coming from on that one, Carol. Yeah, because it's the way it's going at the moment, I think, unfortunately. And Terry has said, Gary, just a thought for the future. I'm sure many of us will have clients impacted by the end of the EU transition period, 31st of December, and how it affects that. I don't know if you can see that, but that's my notes. I was going to mention it today, Terry. So you jumped the gun ever so slightly, but yes, I am going to raise it and we will be following up on that. So give me a couple of minutes. And Faye has come back and said, talking of payroll, 7th to the 11th of September is National Payroll Week. I'm going to go on holiday for National Payroll Week, I've decided. Thanks for that, Faye. Okay. I think
well, I'm reading what Susan sent me, and I'm not 100% sure I understand it anyway. Right, I'll do something with that.
Okay. And on that note, Gary, do you want me to talk about the transition? Just open up the discussion on EU transition.
Yep, go on. That's
okay. Lots going on now. Excuse me, it's because sneeze. I did mention some weeks ago, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, that there's a lot coming out on the EU transition and what's going to happen with that from the 1st of January. And it was going to take me about 3 weeks to unpack the legalese within that. Well, there has been some more coming out. And basically, there are 3 strands that I can see to this at the moment that's going to happen. Now, if you're involved in import-export, what I would say is anyone who is involved in this, I was talking to Gary before this, there are some very complex transactions going to be taking place on or around the change of the year. And it still depends very much on whether the UK ends up with an agreement with the EU or whether we're going to go it alone. And basically, it's going to be a no-deal Brexit as far as imports, exports and VAT is concerned. And it's still very different. However, there are some things that are going to happen, whatever the decision is going to be, because there are some changes to EU VAT that the EU had decided it was going to bring in on the 1st of January anyway. So we will just fall in line with that, whether we're in or out of some form of customs deal. But from the 1st of January, HMR or the government have decided that there are going to be 3 dates that we need to look at for border controls. And the first one is obviously January 21, which is not that far away. Anyone who imports or exports is going to have to start to prepare basic customs requirements. There are going to be some forms that will have to be completed, and you will have to keep a record of imported goods. So goods you import now, whether that comes from the EU or outside the EU or anywhere else, as far as we're concerned, the border controls are there. Unless we very rapidly agree a deal with the EU, we are going to be considered by the EU to be completely outside, and hence you would do exactly the same as if we were importing or exporting from the Far East or America. The only exception to this is, I believe, could be if you are importing or exporting via the Irish border. And there are some very specific things that are going to happen with that. So I'm not going to touch the Irish border today because I don't know enough about it. But on the January 21, you're going to have to start looking at keeping some basic import-export documents. From April 2021, all products of animal origin, and, oh, sorry, another one for January, I forgot. The payment of import VAT changes in January, and I'll cover that again later. And there will have to be a physical check on the import-export of all live animals. So that's January. So if anybody's involved in the transport businesses that transport live animals, you're probably well aware of this now, and you should be working towards getting your system set up for that. From April, all products of animal origin and all regulated plants will require pre-notification of import-export, or import anyway. And that includes things like milk and eggs, anything that's animal origin, so cheeses. So if you're importing cheeses and all that sort of thing, from April, you're going to have to do a pre-notification that you're bringing these things into the country. And there will have to be various notifications for health and safety and that sort of thing. So that comes in April. And then from July 2021, there will be a full customs declaration have to be made for everything coming in at the point of import. And there will be increases in checks on border controls and all that sort of thing. So by the time we get to July 2021, we're in a full import-export customs inspections, whatever it is we're going to do. The other thing that's changing, and this is an EU-wide change, is that the tariffs that we're going to be using will be changing. Now, a tariff is basically a charge that is made on goods that you import, because otherwise it would be more beneficial to import cheaper goods from abroad than it is to buy goods in the UK. So quite often there is a tariff that you have to pay. There's been a lot in the news about the US and the tariffs of having to import, I think it's Scotch whiskey, into the US and various other bits and pieces. And it's moving from the EU common external tariff to the UK global tariff. And what it is, it's can sometimes be called a customs duty. It's in addition to any VAT, so it's not instead of, it's in addition to VAT, a tariff. And on the gov.uk website, there is a full list of all the tariffs that are there. I don't know whether you can hear that. Very large thunder, you probably can't. Very large thunderclap going on right over my head. Sorry, folks. So where was I? Sorry, yes, there is a full list of tariffs, and basically there don't appear to be that many changes. What they've done is they changed the percentages have slightly changed. They've said, quote, simplified them by putting them into bands. So certain types of tariffs will go into certain bands. And also there's if it's an amount per weight, so if you're importing certain live products or something and it's imported by weight, there is an amount per kilo or pound or whatever we're going to use. And that's just been transferred over from euros to sterling. So that's something on global tariffs. And then the other change that I've had so far is on EU VAT. Now, We still don't know what's going to happen about business to business VAT. If you are selling abroad to private customers, that doesn't change because you have to charge them VAT anyway at the rate in the EU. But if you're doing, if you're buying from abroad, again, you may very well be into reverse charge, and you may very well have to complete an EU VAT return in the country of origin. So there's a lot going on here that we need to unpack. We will get a lot of information out to you. Basically, at the moment, if you are bringing in goods to the value of less than £15, then there is no import VAT or duty or anything to be paid because it's considered a, a very small item and there's no charges. That is now changing, and this is an EU-wide thing. Anything that is imported at less than £135 per consignment, so not per article, per consignment. So let's say you're importing some cheap plastic goods from abroad. If the total value of the goods, not the add-on cost, not delivery or anything else, but if the value of the goods is less than £135, you can bring them in without paying any VAT, and then you pay your VAT at the point of sale. So you can import them, you sell them, you pay your VAT as normal. Now, what happens over the £135 is what I haven't seen yet, but it is going to apply to goods that are sold as an online marketplace. So if you are, for example, if you have a client who sells via eBay or Amazon or anything like that, and those goods are coming from abroad, that is where the effect is going to be. Because a lot of those goods are going to be less than £135. You go onto Amazon and you buy something and then you realize it's coming in from China or wherever it's coming in from. And the VAT is going to change on that. So it may very well be that your VAT will change accordingly, but we will unpick this, but it's going to affect a lot of members. So if anybody is interested in getting together to look into this further so we can help you, we can get a group together, get a focus group together, can you email into member services at bookkeepers.org.uk and for my attention, and if you put EU focus group as the title, then the girls or the people in the office, not all girls because we have young men as well who forward emails to me, yeah, let me know and I'll contact you. Don't forget, if you want to come on the focus group, the powers that be at the Institute have to check that you are fully compliant as a practicing member or as a member, employed member, practicing member. And once I've got the okay, I'll contact you and add you to the list. And we'll try and set up a Zoom meeting at some stage to find out what we've got to do. So
your panels are proving very helpful. You're getting a lot of
they are
information, as they say.
Yeah, this week we put in fact it went in today, a consultation on abuse in the construction industry scheme and how to reduce the fraud in there. And I went out to the group and asked for some help, and I had a lot of fascinating comments. I said last week, the people who were part of that actually put in a huge amount of thought into that, and that's gone off in the report today, and I will be forwarding the report to them all, if not today, by Monday, so they can see what we're saying. So yeah, very, very useful. I think it's helpful for both sides because it raises issues for us, and it also hopefully helps you as well, and we can pass information between the group. What tends to happen is once we've got the group set up, I send out group emails, but they usually go out. I also send out an email with all the group members' names so you can see who's in the group, and then if you just respond to that email, reply to everyone. If anyone's got anything that they want to raise, just send it out to the group in a group email, and yeah, we'll look at it from there. So another one to do. Right.
An ethical question.
About the ethical question.
Email, what could do if losing client to another team? New team require more info, but client owes you for a number of outstanding invoices. Is it as okay to withhold info to new team? Oh, this is always a difficult one to answer because you can't hold on to the books. That's called taking lien. You can't do anything which stops them creating their stuff. I think occasionally you just have to understand that you're going to lose a client like this, and it's not very nice, but it happens.
I think the problem is there if there's an outstanding invoice, Gary. What the situation they owe you.
Yeah, yeah. That's not disclosing any information which isn't open knowledge. So I think that's probably the best thing to do. But yeah, I'm sorry to hear you're losing somebody. We've obviously had quite a few of our smaller business clients spread across all of you that have disappeared, albeit some of them perhaps temporarily. But I have to say that at the moment, on a pure number basis, so not looking too heavily at the numbers, but we last month had something like 4% more clients in total as a group than we did the month before. So there might be some going, but it would appear that more are coming to us. So I'm hoping if you've lost one, like you have, Karen, that you pick up another one at least. So there is a lot of business out there. Faye, apologies, the reference comes from practice ignition. It's moving around a little bit.
Sorry, I just deleted the one, it's jumped up, Gary. All
right, okay. Where have we gone on there? Comes from practice ignition that said they copied the ICB template. I assume this reference was made as on ICB website.
I think that was her 8.3. It's in the document she's got, so it may or may not be 8.3 in ours.
Ah, right. Now that might help. They shouldn't be copying our documentation, of course, because everything we do is copyrighted. So I'll have a word with them because what we are finding is actually we had somebody probably about 3 or 4 months ago now that was selling our members a COPE agreement, which is this continuation practice engagement, but they called it something else, but it was absolutely word for word what our internal lawyer wrote for us, a lovely guy by the name of Ben, who has since left. He's on parental leave, but he wrote COPE for us, and it was word for word. And in fact, in one page they'd slipped up and left the word ICB, the phrase ICB in there. So we took appropriate action. We'll accept your instruction on this, something you are honest and law-abiding. However, should suspicions arise concerning criminal activity, terrorism, and or money laundering, which I presume that doesn't mean Monday, but money laundering, we will be obliged to make reports to the appropriate authorities and may be prohibited from telling you we have done so. Actually, you are prohibited from telling anybody that you've made a report against them, because that then becomes tipping off if you do. So, yeah. Yeah, I mean, that seems perfectly straightforward to me. It's what goes out in most contracts. Obviously, the other thing is that, and I think that might be what the other bit was about now that I understand a little bit more about it, we are obliged to divulge things to to the HMRC or to law if asked to do so, which hopefully none of you get asked to do that. But, that's something, but even if you don't put that in your contract, I mean, you are obliged to do that anyway. Client is no loss. Karen Simmons, client is no loss apart from the unpaid bill. Great. Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Clients do tend to go, but thankfully in most cases they're not the good ones. They're the ones that you were thinking, God, I wish I could get rid of this one. It's a shame about the unpaid bill, but if they don't pay or they look as if they're not going to pay, I would take recourse to go to a debt collector or put in a small claims court summons. It's available. It's relatively easy to do nowadays. They have made it simpler, and debts are chased on a regular basis. Don't let him think he's got away with it, or she thinks she's got away with it, certainly. So anyway, Karen, I'll look at that. Meanwhile, I haven't yet received anything from Steve, but if it is a fact that the numbers have changed, that might be why he's scratching his head a little bit to find out what it is we're doing, but we'll have a look. Thank you, says Karen. Well, that's our pleasure.
Yeah, Nicola Payne's just come back and said, would my EU VAT group include VAT MOS? Yes, it will, Nicola. So please, yeah, give me a buzz. I know you're already on my list for one of them. VAT MOS, for those who don't know, is called the Mini One-Stop Shop. And VAT MOS, I think, is going to become VAT OS, a one-stop shop, as more things come into the... it's how you declare the VAT that you're reclaiming from abroad. Now, we're not sure what's going to happen to the VAT one-stop shop, because at the moment what it is that if you're paying VAT in another country or selling to other countries, you can make your declaration through the HMRC, and I'm not sure whether that facility is still going to be available if we leave Brexit without a deal. I hope it is, because I think otherwise we're going to be having to register with an awful lot of countries for VAT purposes. So yeah, please do, Nicholas, bump me an email. If you've got my other email address, then yeah, just send it straight over and we'll deal with that.
And Lynn Thornley says, to chase clients for outstanding invoices, I find Thomas Higgins, Higgins, easy to use. First official letter costs £3. An official letter quite often does focus the mind and get people to pay up, so that's useful. So that's Thomas Higgins. So that's a recommendation from a member, obviously not ICB, because I don't know who Thomas Higgins are, but it's always good to get something from your peers. Are people still clapping you there, Jackie?
Sorry, I'm just having to put some lights on. It's getting very dark down here.
Yeah, I think use the claps by now.
Very dark skies. I don't know. Sorry, Gary, did you say, are we getting what? Are we?
I was just saying, I thought you'd be used to getting claps by now. Thunderclaps, you know? No, sorry, it's a
yeah,
Friday.
Sorry, yes.
It's my sad sense of humour.
Right.
Maybe I read this as we are telling clients in these terms that we can't tell them we are tipping off, but seems to imply we are. Well, I read it, Faye, to be honest with you, and I wasn't quite sure it was as black and white as what we try to make things. So I'm going to have another look at it, and we might make another amendment. But no, whatever happens, you can tell your client that you have to be legal, decent, honest, and truthful, that you are obliged to work within the law and within the rules of your professional body, which is absolutely true. And I've often said to people, look, if you're stuck with a client who wants to do something and you don't want to allow them to do it, you say, look, I can't do this because my professional body, it's in the rules. I'm told I can't do it, and I will lose my license, and I'm not willing to do that for you, and use that as the first call. But anyway, so yeah, I'll have a look at it again, because it should be saying quite simply that you can tell them that you will have to do something like that if ever it happens. But I wouldn't go over the top, because let's presume to begin with that they are decent clients, and just leave it almost as read, if you like, but then bring it up if you think something's going strange. Now, Jackie, what are we looking at here? It's not next Friday, but Friday the 11th. You're not going to be with us, apparently.
I know. I'm having some time off.
Ah, right. So
you have to.
We're going to have to find somebody else to come on and do all of this. Somebody to keep me company. No use giving me technical questions. So, but anyway, we will look at somebody. So just to bear that in mind. So you will be here next Friday, but
I'll be here next Friday.
Yeah, great. So I think that's fair enough. Have you got anything else on your list, Jackie?
No, I don't think so. I think I've covered everything that I've listed down, and we've covered all the questions, I think, at the moment. I've left some up there, Gary, just to be followed up on at a later stage. Yeah,
we can follow on that. Okay. I keep getting news flashes up, but it's weird things coming up, but never mind. Yeah. As you can see, the sun's coming out here all of a sudden. I've suddenly got my face is suddenly glowing, but weird weather at the moment. So I'm getting the sun that Jackie's just lost, because she's getting dark.
Yeah, we've got a lot of thunder and lightning going on overhead at the moment.
Which
is fine, except that I've got to get back up to the house at the end of this, so I might be down here for quite some time yet.
Right, well, we're staying on air then. No.
I've got an ICB. I've got a big ICP umbrella down here, I think, somewhere in the office. So we'll see.
We've actually sold all of those. We're wondering now about getting another one, because everybody said they were too big. Why can't you have a ladies' one that will fit into a handbag? But people kept buying them. So I don't know how many years ago we bought those, and if you can remember, but it was probably the first time.
It's still the first one. We've had them for some time. Yeah, certainly. I've had one around here for a very long time.
I think we overbought, and we've been carrying huge boxes of the damn things around for years. So anyway, I think we probably do need some more. Yeah, we are again looking at the timing for ICB TV programs. I have mentioned this before. We do 3 till 4 at the moment. Depending on how the back to school routine goes over the next couple of weeks, it could be that it's not the best time for you. So we will be putting out a bit of a questionnaire to people, so that we can find out what everybody thinks. We might be that we do this, I don't know, over breakfast or lunchtime or a bit earlier or whatever it might be. I mean, at this particular moment in time, I just want to make sure that we get the biggest number of people able to listen to this. I know you can pick it up and listen to it later, and in fact we get 400 or 500 of you. I think over 700 of you went back and looked at the software head to head on this last Wednesday, so that was very good. But we'll see what we can do. And then the other thing is, again, just that I've mentioned earlier as well as previously, we do want to make this a little more regular than it is now. We, like everybody else, are going through holiday periods, and as you just heard, Jacquie's disappearing as well in 2 weeks and leaving us to it. But if any of you actually would like to come on, it's been great to see some of you in the head-to-head talking about your favourite piece of software. But if you've got something else that you think you've got a speciality and you'd like to have a chat, or you'd like to come on and throw questions live at one or two of the people that we've got coming on here, just please give me a shout. You can put it through customer services again and just mark it for my attention. They'll forward that through to me, and I think that'll be fantastic. One other request, I don't know how to put this nicely really, but if we send you an email, will you please read it from top to bottom? We've just had a lady on one of our, I think it was a lady on one of our forums who was asking questions about her exam, and she got problems and she didn't know, and we're not giving her proper information. And thankfully she went on about 10 minutes down the line with another one saying, oops, sorry, I've just read the rest of the email. I know exactly what I'm supposed to do now. We do tend to try and give you as much information as we can. We've been doing this for 20 odd years, as Jacquie will agree. And, I'm not saying we get it right all of the time. Sometimes we do understand what we're saying, and we presume you do, but we try not to do that. And but if you read the email, it should tell you everything in there, or if not, it'll refer to it on the systems on the website where it talks about exams or something. It's normally exams, actually. I know you're all very nervous and you're worried about.
I was about to say, Garry, it's not just emails, it's exams as well. When I used to teach, a part of what we used to do is obviously teach exam techniques. We used to have a phrase that said, read the question and answer the question the examiner set, not the question you thought they set or the question you wished they'd set. And on some of the earlier stuff that I've been helping out with, it's surprising how people do not read instructions and pick it up and actually answer, and lose a lot of marks in exams because they don't do that. So it's interesting, particularly the computerized ones where they have to send in reports of certain things, and they think, oh, I'll send this report. It doesn't actually tell you what you want to do. So
no, I remember I went to a training session with one of my previous employers. We were up in Ossett near Leeds, and we had a paper in front of us on a desk, a bit like school kids did, and they said, right, there's a test on here. We'll see how much you've got from the training. When we say turn over the paper, do exactly what it says. So we did. We turned over the paper. The top one was, right, put your name in the top right-hand corner so we know whose paper this is. Second one was read through the full paper before commencing, and then it gave you, I think, 50 questions. But point 50 was, having read all of the questions, put down your pen, turn your paper back over, and await further instructions. And I think it must have been purely by chance, but I glanced down and caught this. So I was sitting there with a huge grin on my face, hardly able to contain myself, as over the next 10 minutes, people did all sorts of things. Like they were told to stand up and say, I'm in the lead, and sit down again, and then raise your right hand, write the next question. And they were making complete fools of themselves. And I think it was luck rather than I'm good at reading, because I don't read anything. As anybody else sent me an email will know. Yeah. And we were always told in exams, read the exam paper through first, and nobody ever did. But so we hope they get it right with ours. Just to say, a very big congratulations to anybody who's passed the exams recently. We are getting some fantastic results through at the moment. and big numbers. I mean, I think on the last count, we were about 60% up on exam sittings so far this year. And it hasn't dented, sometimes something like that, when the numbers go up, it dents the number of people who are passing. Now, oh, that's flashing a bit there.
I know, it's the lights are flashing on and off as the lightning goes.
We are not estimating exam results. We're not doing anything like that at all. They're live results, as everybody will know. So it's your real result. But we're doing very, very well. And two of our training providers at the moment, their students are achieving 95, 97% pass rates right across the board. So we're really, really pleased with this. And you know, this is why we say you're not just bookkeepers, you're ICB bookkeepers. If you pass our exams, you're really going to be ready to go when you get out there, and that can only be good for businesses and the clients that you have. So anyway, I thought I'd just drop that one in. What I might start doing soon is picking up some people who are passing exams, etc., and mention one or two of them on air. Let's see how that goes down. Might be all right, might not. We'll see how that goes. Yeah, and judging by the way that you write emails once you've got your exam results and you show copies of your certificate and how excited you are, that's great. And the more of you that do that, the better. Because I also like to show that to our team back at our office or at their individual homes or wherever it might be, because it really gives them a thrill to know that the people they've been talking to, the people that they've registered, the people that they've sent an exam to are actually being successful and are having fun doing this and are achieving something. And, you know, I know when we issue a practice license to somebody, we've got Sujay, he's just joined us, but he's now just about finishing his training. I'm due to have a conversation with him after we finish on here. He will be contacting people who've just got their first practice license to begin with, then he'll be spreading that out to everybody else as well. But, you know, we're there for you, and we want to make sure that you make the very most of your qualification. And if you've started a practice, that you know what you're doing, you know where the help can come from if you need any of it. And but you know, it's that excitement. We want that to keep that excitement going, and I know it does keep going, because I've noticed recently that a couple of people, and I'm just trying to think who the last one was, I can't at the moment, were saying, I've just received my practice license, this is my 5th. And then somebody else came on and said, oh, I got mine last week, that was my 6th. So there's quite a lot of competition out there, and we are looking at ways of sort of giving people something when they've been with us for 5 years and 10 years and 15 years, etc. So we've even got a few that have been with us who in another year or so's time will be getting their 25 years with us, which is something. So anyway, sorry, Jackie, I rattled on a bit there, but I think it's just nice to know that we've got such a huge family of people out there. You know, 100,000 plus people spread all the way across the world, 148 countries. And, you know, we're always excited as the members are when they achieve something or when they've got a great business. And now we've got, 4 new members of staff, new people joining the team this month. You know, they're looking at this, and they have said to me, it's weird, but said your students and your members, they're so excited, they're so pleased to be part of ICB. And we said, oh, great, we've done something fine, right. Something we've been trying to achieve for a long time, isn't it, Jackie? So,
absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. There's a note on the chat from Claire Rimmer. Hi, Claire. Said, brilliant to hear the timing is being looked at. I was wondering about listening in on the school run. So, yeah, we need to look at that, Garry. Thanks for that.
Yeah, I'll put a questionnaire out. I'm not sure it will give us anything other than, you know, 5 choices, and we get sort of 20% in each, but we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes, and we might just do it at different times. I don't know. We'll risk it a bit, but I know a lot of people who said I like the 5 days a week, and other people said they don't have chance to look at 5 days. So that was pretty, you know, inconclusive. But we'll see what we can do. And what we're sort of doing, obviously, Amy has started taking over some of the programs now, so she sits in, and that relieves me, so I can actually do some other work as well. But I really enjoy it. But there are other people who said I wouldn't mind doing something. We had Paula Veazey Smith, of course. She did one for us, didn't she? And that went down very well. That was talking about the council. So great. I think we're up to our hour, which is a surprise because I didn't think we were going to have much to talk about today. And then, of course, you came in with a bundle of new facts.
Quite bundled today, yes.
Everybody, yeah, which is great.
It's good because my storm has passed over. You can see the light. The sun's coming out again, so it's got a bit lighter now.
Okay, yeah, well. Right, everybody. So I think that's it from...
yeah, emails about anybody who wants to get involved in EU VAT focus group, please. And I will get some stuff up on what I've said today. I will get something up on it'll go up onto the COVID hub, and it'll be highlighted as updated today in red. So you should be able to see what I put up. Okay.
And if any of you have got any specialisms, as I say, you'd like to come on, not necessarily for an entire hour, but you might like to come on and give a 15-minute update. If you know, I don't know, the TOMS system or God knows what, really, you know, something which is sort of specialist, but which a lot of other members might be interested in. Come on, say a few words, give us an update. Yeah, let us know what you want to do. We're happy to share.
I know a member who knows about the TOMS scheme, Garry.
Oh. Right. Okay. Well, yeah, we got floored with it
yeah, I'm sure I can find you a member that knows about that. He's listening in, so.
Is he? All right. Okay. And yeah. So great, lovely to know that you're all with us. I keep saying to see you. I can't quite see you, but nonetheless, it's good to know you're there. I can see the numbers are coming in. I hope you found this interesting. I hope you continue to find our programs interesting. And as long as you're tuning in, we will continue and we will increase the number, as I say, probably mid-September when school life has settled down a little bit more for the biggest majority of our members, and we'll see how that goes. So, bye all. Have a very good weekend. Stay safe. And,
have a lovely bank holiday weekend. Bye, everyone.
Yeah, Angie, bye.